Let's get rolling with this fun bicycle and baskets that we're going to fill with our own drawings. So grab your take and paint or your drawing that you created at home and let's get painting. So we've got this bike here. You can find like a clip art online and print it off and trace it onto watercolor paper by using a window as like a light box. So you're welcome to do that if you don't have my take and paint from Tamery.com. And I'm going to start on this one. I have Americana bike if you look on my website, and you'll see how to paint in this bike with the flags and things, but it's the same exact bike. We're just going to do a different kind of style to it. So it may be fall and you want to do something with that theme, or you can do these little daisies and create your own sort of plants here. So this is kind of fun because they're almost just coming out of this basket, and we can do maybe some greenery here. And I'm really just making this up as I go along. You can do the same thing. And you could put a little puppy in the back, whatever you want. You probably wouldn't put your puppy in the back of a bike, but maybe you would put him on the front and flowers in the back. My son did one of these at a class that I was teaching, and he did a little cactus, and that was super cute. So you can just use a reference for some doodle flowers that you find online or ones that are favorites of yours. Very, very sketchy, very basic kind of fun, whimsical flowers here on my bike. So now that we've done that, this is a micron pen, so we can paint over that and it will not blur. And I'm going to get my water brush, has a fine tip on it. You can use a medium brush for the background if you want to. Typically I paint the whole bike and I demonstrate that, and in this case I'm going to actually do a background that I'm going to mix up my colors here, and I've got this piece of paper that I always put in my take and paints that you can put your colors on. This is from another class I did. I can flip that right over, and now we've got our reference. So if we would like to create some kind of brown here, I'm going to add a little bit of red to that. Get the right shade that I want. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lay down the groundwork. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to leave the bike white. If you want to learn how to paint the bike, then you can go and look up that Americana. But, or like my example has that, I'm going right up to the wheel there. So let's say I'm riding through the countryside on a beautiful little hidden path here, and my bike at home is white, and I've got like a kind of a caramel colored seat. So I'm kind of looking for that right. Honestly, one of those colors was a little closer. So my bike is white with that, and I am loving my bike. We've been riding it to the farmer's market, and that's a lot of fun. I'm going to make some gray here by using a darker blue with orange. So I've got that to put here. And the pedal, just like that. I think I'll go and actually paint this leaving white of the paper just for effect, and maybe adding a little bit as a shadow, just to make it stand out a little bit. And underneath here, just a bit. Okay, so my basket, I do want to paint those. Let me go and do the background of the sky so that my white bike will really stand out. So I've got to have a lot of water here. I'm going to use a combination. In this box is my tropicals set, and I'm going to get a lot of water in there, and then I'm going to basically do a wet on wet. I'm going to start here for a sky in the background, so I'm going to move mostly left to right. In this case I didn't let that dry, and you know how bad I am if you ever watch my videos at just waiting for it to dry first. So we'll go back and paint that in later. Just couldn't wait, could I? Had to get right in there. And you saw what I did. I just took my clear brush like this, scrubbed at that, and then I stamped down with my paper towel, and I'll go over it with blue in a bit. It's still wet, so it'll just bleed again if I go and do that right now. So I'm going to go and put this sky in the background. I'm being careful here because I want to leave that white. And it's so fun. I've got these baskets that I have a Bluejay bicycle, and it has these little Cape Cod wicker baskets on the back, and I can go to the grocery store and I put the baskets in my cart so I know how much I can fit to get home, and just makes going to the grocery store a little more fun occasionally. Now see, I went up and down here, so that is not looking great. You want to kind of go side to side. I think I have my paper sideways. Kind of fill that in. And it's getting a little bit warped on the paper because it's a lot of water, but I can throw that in a frame and it will, well, I didn't really do a good job on my horizon line here, so maybe I'm going uphill. Make it look a little bit more random. That way it won't stand out too much. Okay. And getting around here. Going up and down right here, but making sure to go back in and go back and forth. And I'll definitely have to wait for this to dry before I can do the rest of it, or it will make a big mess like I was doing there. It's good for your blues to kind of be a little bit varied in their intensity so that it doesn't look unrealistic. Kind of adding a little more intense blue there just to kind of balance that out. And I'm spreading that pigment around a little bit so that it's not just dark in one area. If you want that to look a little more perfect, then I would suggest you just go ahead and start with that from the beginning. Then you don't have to worry about it too much, and maybe go ahead and put a little bit of water down first so that it spreads out more evenly. I'm loving how that looks already. So let's see. I have to imagine that this ground goes, I've never done this before. This is like literally on the fly here. We're doing it together. So let me kind of bridge that ground so it really does look like it's bending there. And then I've got to put this blue in here. And why I didn't think of that before. I don't know, but like I said, I am totally making this up. I always do blue, red bikes, pink bikes, but my bike's white. I want to do white bike. Totally gonna frame this afterward. Okay, and in here is a little bit more blue between that fender and the tire, and we'll definitely want that to dry so that we don't have an issue later. Okay, so the one thing we can do now is the basket while we're waiting for the rest of that to dry. And on my bike I have, although they're like more saddle style, they're definitely a nice kind of wicker color. I'm going to do this and then let that dry. And we'll do the same thing over here. You can always pause the video and paint along with me. Okay, we'll let that dry for a second. Now, I think this is good and dry, so we can add that little, I can add that handlebar back in. Okay. We'll do that like there. Get this here. And I'll make this look like, my bike does have a light and it actually has a brake light in the back too, so that's fun. Alright, so that's pretty dry now. I'm going to go in and do these flowers, which are pretty simple because they're basically going to have this yellow kind of cone to it. And most of my take-up paints, you can do them so many different times, so many different ways, especially when you're drawing these together. So, or drawing them yourself. Let's see, with the flowers, or the cactus, or whatever. So let me grab that color here, green. So I mixed a little brown and green just to kind of tone it down. To come in here and do these little leaves. I'm not doing the stems, so I don't want to make a big fat line. If you do them, then you're going to want to really practice getting the top of your brush 90 degree and not let your hand go flat and make a big fat line. Okay, so don't like how I messed that up there. And this is kind of a little different there. And then we've got, I want to make it look more continuous. You might use like a pencil and kind of draw that in at first if you're doing what I was doing here. I want those colors to match. That's just too much. So you're literally painting along with me here. So I'm making this up on the fly. Now I've got a clear brush and I'm going to kind of go over this very lightly because it's set up and sort of dried, and fill that in so there's no white in there, but still leaves the pattern. And now I can take a little bit of this and sort of add a little more shadow into there. Like so. Now we just have to do the tires. Now mine actually have like a brown tire to them. So they're kind of like this color over here. How we made that not positive. It's kind of a caramel color tire. Bluejay bike. I was thinking I was going to do black, but I don't have black tires. They probably have a little white wall on them, which I am not going to have enough of a steady hand to put that in here, so. All right. Not perfect, but whimsical and absolutely delightful because it's exactly like my bike, so you could paint your own as well.